Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now, first, let's get to get an overview of what Islamic finance is all about.
Okay, so in simple terms, Islamic finance is basically finance that is compliant with Islamic law, so which is called Sharia. So Islamic finance is Sharia compliant, and what this means is the basic. There's some principles that the finance institutions. So you have Islamic banking, insurance, asset management, and all the other institutions that you have under the finance sector have to follow. And so that's what basically separates it from conventional finance. So, for example, the principles that Islamic finance follow for products and services are the total avoidance of interest payments, which is called the riba. Then you also,
and that's why it's called the non-interest bank.
Yeah, non-interest banks. So total avoidance of interest, avoidance of speculation. It also prohibits gambling. And then investment in some certain industries like alcohol, tobacco, pork, things that the Islamic religion basically prohibits.
Okay, the third African Islamic Finance Forum, well, that started yesterday and would end today. In your view, what do you think is the importance of this conference and, of course, the growth opportunities for Islamic finance here in Nigeria?
Okay, so I'll take the first question, which is speaking to what is the importance, of this forum, at this time. And if we take a look at the forum, this is the third time it's happening. This is the third conference and forum, I meant to say. And from the first one, we have seen that it has focused on awareness. So there's been this continuous awareness of what are the products, what is Islamic finance, how can businesses tap into or leverage into Islamic finance, how can the unbanked population of majorly of Muslims who can't bank through conventional banking, tap into Islamic finance. So basically to create an awareness. I think what is interesting at this point in time is this third forum is coming at a time where there has been discussions concerning the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. So what this will help participants, especially business people and investors, is to be able to know what are the products that are available, how can we finance our businesses at this time where the African Continental Free Trade Agreement is talking about trade and talking about export. What are the opportunities? And then for investors, what are the products that we can put our money into? And there are some investors that are Sharia compliant. So how can we what are the available instruments that are in the market, in the Islamic finance market that they can invest into? So looking at that, I think at this time it's important for people to know, people to understand it, people to have a general knowledge and understanding of what it involves and what it means and how they can leverage on it. And speaking to the second question, which is
the growth opportunities.
If you look at how many Islamic financial institutions there are presently in Africa, I think you have about 50, and we have about 54 countries. So that means there's 54 countries in Africa. So that means there's still an opportunity for growth and for more institutions to come up. And if you even look at Nigeria, we have just one Islamic bank and then about two other banks that have
the window, right?
Yes, that offer that window. So that's one of the reasons to say that justifies the case that there's still an opportunity for this market to be tapped. And if you look at it, Africa is the second biggest continent by population, and by 2050 we'll be expecting the numbers to grow as well. So what this means is they have more growth of SMEs, and then retail demand for retail banking by Muslims and other Sharia compliant investors. So this is one of the reasons that we are saying we believe that there's still an opportunity for growth in Islamic
Now, what
finance.
does Nigeria stand to gain from having more Islamic banks? You talked about having one. We have Jaiz Bank and a few other banks that have that window.
Yes. So if you look at it, I think one of the things that one of the people or one of the sectors that have to gain from Islamic banking is the private sector. So recently we've been seeing the significant growth in small and medium scale enterprises, and we know that that is one of the pillars of the economy. And looking at that sector, you're saying what is how can they sustainably take loans and expand their businesses. So if we have more Islamic banks or more windows that are offering these opportunities for SMEs to borrow and then share the risk and profit or loss with the banks, it will help kind of reduce the burden of interest accumulation that the SMEs have continually cried out about in the economy. So that's one of the sectors that will gain. And then also looking at retail banking as well, you have some certain people who would not bank with conventional banks because of their beliefs. And if we have more banks, we have more windows that will enable, pull that part of the population into the banking system.
And even when the CBN is trying to push for financial inclusion.
Exactly. Yeah. So, that would help, with financial inclusion and have more pools, more funds in the pool that can be used to further develop the economy.
Okay, you had talked about some of the products. What are the products that can actually be tapped through this window?
Okay, so just as you have conventional banking, you have a current account, you have savings accounts, and then for loans, they have specific tailored loans to various sectors of the economy. So for I saw for Sterling Bank, you have SMEs, as farmers that need to take loans in the agri sector. So you have specific and tailored loans, since it's not just a general, or we give loans to all sectors of the economy. So you have specific loans that would gain from this, basically.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Omoife. Omoife Eremosele is one of the investment analysts with AfriInvest Securities. We'll take a break now, and when we come back, we will take a look at KPMG's CFO's 2018 Outlook Survey. Do stay with us.